Hey guys, it's Abigail. I know I haven't posted in a while. That's because I've been so busy trying doctor's appointments and whatnot. I'm 29 weeks pregnant. I don't know if you can tell. Here's my belly. Put this up. Here's my belly. It's huge. And so I know on my last video I had posted that I was going to do a video on how I told my parents and my boyfriend, how I told them I was pregnant. So yeah, I told my boyfriend, well, I was supposed to get my period on September 24th, and it was like the 22nd, and I was cramping for a couple days, and I thought I was gonna get my period, never got it. But my friend was always like, oh, you're gonna get it, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so then I didn't get it. I usually always get it before noon, like all the time in the mornings. Like I always start my period in the morning, and I never got it. I went to work and I was just cramping and I didn't get anything. So I told my boyfriend, and on the day I was supposed to get my period, I didn't get it. So I told him, and he was like, okay, well, let's go get a test. And I was like, okay. And I was like, can you go get it? Because I was at work and I didn't want to go with him because I was embarrassed. So I was like, can you just get it, and then when you pick me up from work, I'll go take it. So he was like, yeah, okay. So he picked me up and we went to the park because my parents' washer and dryer broke, and so they were doing laundry at the laundromat, so I couldn't go home. So the plan was I was gonna go to the park and take it. So I took it thinking it was gonna be negative, so I just put it, threw it in my purse. I wrapped it in toilet paper, threw it in my purse, went to go wash my hands, and my boyfriend, I thought, was waiting in the truck, but he got off to go to the bathroom. He was like, so what did it say? And I guess the toilet paper moved or something when I put it in my purse, and I opened my purse and the first thing I said was pregnant, and I was like, what? And then he saw it and I pulled it out and he was like, oh my god, we're gonna be parents. And I was in shock. I was like, no, it can't be, it's broken. So I guess I was just in belief. I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything. So he was just he just gave me a hug and he had to go to the bathroom, so he was wait in the truck. And I was like, okay. So then we had to go with my parents, me, him, to go to the laundromat, and I was literally just not talking, not doing anything. I was just in shock. So I think that was on a Sunday because I worked Sunday on the 24th, I think. Was it on the 24th? I don't know. So yeah, so then I didn't tell anybody, and then I told my friend on Tuesday, and she was like, no way. So I took another pregnancy test, and she was like, oh my god, blah blah blah. So then so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday go by. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my parents. I was too scared to. And then when was it? And then Thursday, Wednesday night, I started bleeding a lot, and I was scared. And my boyfriend was like, let's go to the hospital, and I was like, no, I don't want to, I'm scared, and I know that sometimes implantation bleeding or whatever, but no, this one was a lot. It was a lot, but it was, and I had back pains because I had moved a thing of water bottles of it was water bottles. It was 34 pack, and I had moved them because my mom had told me to, and I wasn't gonna be no. So my back hurt so bad, so I felt there was something wrong, but I was like, I'm not going to the hospital. So then Thursday, no, I started bleeding Thursday night, I'm sorry. So then Friday the next day, to my friend, I was like, hey, like, I started bleeding, whatever. I was just like, I just thought I had like a miscarriage. So it was really sad. I cried that whole Thursday night. And then I told my teacher, my Cosmo teacher at the time, I was like, hey, like, I'm pregnant. I had told her that I was pregnant, like, the first day that I came back. That's Monday, because I couldn't afford, like, the little kit that we had to get, whatever. So then on Friday, on Friday, I told her that last night I was bleeding. And she was like, oh, well, you can still be pregnant, and like if the baby might not have came out, like, just whatever, like, I had to go to the doctor, like, I knew I had to go to the hospital or the doctor or something. And like, she was like telling me, and keep in mind, like, I would have not told my parents, like, to this day probably. And so anyways, so she was like, because your hormones can still be like that, you're pregnant. So I was like, okay, like, if I am still pregnant, like, I was like, I told my boyfriend what my teacher had said, and if I was, like, I'll tell my parents. So then he was like, oh, let's go buy another test. So I was like, okay. So he took me home because my dad had something to do, I don't know. So he took me home, my boyfriend, and my dad's car wasn't working, so we went to go buy a pregnancy test. I took it at my house, and I was like, okay, if it's positive, I'm gonna tell my parents. If it's negative, then, whatever. So it came out positive, and I told my boyfriend, and he, of course, was concerned. Like, he wanted to tell, so he, like, take me to the hospital and make sure I was okay. So that night, my parents were like, oh, they missed my boyfriend, because they were being really close and all that. This was before everything that happened. I was like, oh, he's busy, and I was so scared the whole time. And he told his parents, and his parents were like, well, you gotta work. I wasn't there, but his parents came to my house when we told my parents. So my dad is a teen dad, so he really wasn't like screaming like, get out of my house, whatever, because like, he did that. So he was just like, well, we trusted you, they're just like, we trusted you, like, blah blah blah. They were like mad at my boyfriend and me and whatever. My mom, she wasn't a teen mom, so I guess she took it harder, and she was just like, I don't want her here, and like, it was just like a big thing, which I understood. Like, every parent is gonna react different. But yeah, I didn't want to tell my parents, but I had to. So my dad was just like, well, she needs to go to the hospital. Like, if she's bleeding, we got to make sure the baby's still there. Like, they were more at the time, they were more concerned that, like, about the baby, because I was bleeding. So we went to the hospital, and the baby was okay. My placenta, they had told me that my placenta, well, I had went to the first hospital, but they didn't know what to do, because it was a children's hospital, because I was 17, and I was gonna be 18 in, like, literally in 2 weeks, but I had to go to a children's hospital, and they didn't know what to do, but they were just like, oh yeah, the baby's there. They didn't tell me what was wrong. And then I started bleeding again the following week again, and then I went to like an adult hospital, and they were like, oh, well, your placenta is tearing. It's 60% off, and only 30% was attached to me. Like, my body was trying to get rid of the baby, I guess, or I don't know. So they considered me a high risk of a miscarriage. So I was really scared and crying. And at first, when I first told my parents, I only stayed with my boyfriend. We told my parents Friday. I stayed with my boyfriend Saturday and Sunday, and then I went back home, I think like Monday or something, and then, or like a couple weeks later, or I don't even know, and I started bleeding again. So my mom took me. My mom didn't go to the hospital with me the first time, but the second time, because I was back with my mom, because she was worried, and I started bleeding again, and that's when they told me. So my mom's like, you have to stay with me. And like, my sisters weren't talking to me, my mom really wasn't talking to me, but she was like, I need you at my house, like I need to keep an eye on you. And so yeah, so I went through all this family drama thing. I lived with my boyfriend for, on my birthday. On my birthday, this like whole thing started like out. Like it was always like fighting between us, and I was bleeding, like, and I couldn't have the stress, so I was like, I'm just gonna go. Like, it was just a mess. Like everybody was like yelling on my birthday. It was like the worst birthday ever. So then I came back home, or I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So I lived with my boyfriend for 2 months, and then I came back, and then for a month by myself, but I didn't want to be like away from my boyfriend. And then my boyfriend lived with me at my house, well, on the floor, like he slept on the floor for 2 months, and then now I'm back over here. So yeah, and I'm 29 weeks pregnant, gonna be 30 in 4 days. So I am due May 29th, and yeah, so I still have problems, but they weren't as bad as the beginning. I just had like a whole bunch of like family drama and whatnot, but now it's gotten a little bit better. My boyfriend is really supportive. He's been through everything. We've been through hell and back with my family and just this whole pregnancy. And yeah, but he's been there. He's been working. He's been there comforting me, and I couldn't ask for anyone better. I really love him, and also we're engaged. My little ring. I will put a video at the end. He did at the gender reveal, and you'll see that at the end. So that's, I didn't like I wanted to talk to y'all about the teen parenting, but some stuff was just, I've been through a lot, but I don't want to get too personal because those things are really personal to me, and some things, you know, I just don't want to put out there on the internet. But that's like the summary of what has happened. And to all the teen parents that are out there watching, if y'all are watching, just know that it gets better. If you haven't told your parents, you know, they'll, depending, I don't know everyone's parents, but at the end of the day, when they see the baby, you know, things change. So that's all I can say. It gets better. Don't listen to anyone. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, you know. You got you and your baby. So yeah, that's my story, how I told my mom and my parents and his parents and my boyfriend's parents. So yeah, sorry if that was a short video, but yeah, let me know what y'all want to see. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I love y'all. Bye.
I want to ask you.
Yes.
Ahora sí, déjenme ir por las otras sorpresas.
I want the boy. What is it, a boy or a girl?
¿Cuándo era ese? Niña y niño.
¿Va a ser dos?
Sí.
What? Yeah, my mouth. What is it?
Ahorita vamos a traer el otro.
Oh.
Una, dos, tres.
Ah, so good. Hallelujah. Gracias a Dios. Ah, you get what you wanted, girl.
I told you.
didn't feel cool.
No latinamos.
You didn't have a daddy's little girl?
Yes.
God help you.
How are you?
Thank you.